Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, Counter Spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Orson Welles in the directly syndicated Harry Allen Towers production of The Lives of Harry Lime. This episode, entitled Suzie Q, was originally broadcast May 2nd, 1952. If you're just new to us and wondering what The Lives of Harry Lime is about, it's a prequel to the motion picture The Third Man, because Harry Lime was killed in the original Third Man motion picture. So let's listen to what it was like beforehand with, of course, Orson Welles.
Presenting Orson Welles as the Third Man. The Lives of Harry Lime. The fabulous stories of the immortal character, originally created in the story The Third Man, with zither music by Anton Karas.
Her name was Suzie, but she was very, very far from being a floozy. She was lovely, and she was a countess. And I mean a genuine countess, too. I can vouch for that. I checked on her ancestry. It pays to be sure about these things. When I first met up with her, she was suffering from a complaint not uncommon among the post-war aristocracy of Western Europe, the main symptoms of which are expensive tastes and a certain emptiness of the purse, if you get what I mean. That's how we came to team up, in fact. And since Carl and I turned out to be just the supers and Suzie was the star, I'll call this little adventure Suzie's Q.
And now, Orson Welles as Harry Lime, the Third Man, in today's story, Suzie's Q.
What brought me to Vienna was a hint that for an astute financier like myself, there was an honest buck or two to be made on the international currency market. Not black, you understand, just a pale shade of gray. My informant had neglected to mention, however, that the regulations were being policed with ghoulish enthusiasm by the authorities of the four occupying powers. And as 4 against 1 is tough odds in any language, be it French, Russian, American, or British, I decided that the Lime Neck was too valuable a thing to risk being stuck out. There were 3 hours to go before the next plane back to Paris, so I was filling in time in the American bar in the Hotel Continental, reading an afternoon newspaper. At the next table, there was a man and a woman. He was the German officer type, you know, tall and straight-backed with that scar down one cheek, and she was... Well, let's just say she had everything, all in the right proportions and all in the right places. As I read on, I was vaguely conscious of the man rising. He left the bar, and then after a while he came back, and the next second he was beside me, with a click of the heels and a stiff military bow.
Please forgive this interruption.
Oh, certainly.
See, the bookstall has no newspapers. We are wanting most anxiously to know the result of a case in the court today, which is bound to have been reported. Could I possibly be troubling you for a moment?
For my newspaper? Not at all. Here you are, man. Go ahead.
You are being most kind.
So?
Here we are, on the front page, as I thought. Baron wins claim, court order against divorced wife. Here's one. Splendid. You hear that, Suzie? Here's one.
I am so glad.
Your paper. 1,000 thanks.
Oh, well, why not take it over to your friend over there and read the report in detail?
No,
man.
it is only the verdict we are wanting.
Oh.
The Baron is being a friend of ours, you see. Again, our grateful thanks. Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen, old man. Auf Wiedersehen. Curiosity being one of the Lime failings, as soon as my heel-clicking friend had returned to his own table, I read the story through, and it seemed a certain Baron Dortmunder had been suing his divorced wife for the return of a family heirloom, a diamond necklace, which was reputed to have been owned by Marie Antoinette. And the wife's defense was that it had been a present to her, but the court had ruled this out in order to return the necklace forthwith. I was speculating idly on what chance a fellow would have of disposing of a little thing like this necklace. It happened to come into his possession when suddenly there was another click of heels.
Your pardon, please.
Oh, it's you again.
If you will forgive this insistence, but are my friend and I correct in believing you to be Herr Lime?
Oh, yes. Lime's my name.
The Herr Lime?
What can I do for you, Herr,
Clausen. Karl Clausen.
Glad to know you, Herr Clausen.
The pleasure is, I'm sure, in you mutual.
Yes, I'm sure.
You have been reading the story of the Baron's necklace?
Yes, matter of fact, I have. Just
you are finding it of interest?
Well, yes, in a small way. I'm quite a collector of objets d'art myself, you know.
So it is said.
Yes, well, I had no idea I was so well known, as a matter of fact.
In our business, it is desirable to be well informed.
May I ask, what is your business, Herr Klause?
Perhaps the same as yours. It is possible you have been wondering how, if one is chancing to possess such a necklace, one would find for it the right buyer. Huh?
Are you a mind-reading act or something?
Sure.
Go right on, please.
And it is occurring to the Countess and myself that you may be interested in a proposition of business.
That's quite possible.
You are following what I mean? That I have already a buyer for the necklace at $100,000.
American dollars, old man?
Yeah?
Well, if I fall, no one can say I wasn't tempted. Lead on, Herr Klause. And that's how I came to meet Suzie. Their plan was simple enough. The Baron Dortmunder lived alone, except for a housekeeper and a manservant, in a small villa in one of the suburbs. Every Thursday night, the housekeeper went off duty. Next Thursday, Suzie planned to get the Baron out of the house by entertaining him at dinner. That left only the manservant. Klause was to cope with him by calling on the pretense of wanting to see the Baron and then keeping the fellow standing by while he wrote a long note. Meanwhile, with the coast clear upstairs, I was to purloin the necklace.
It is no difficulty, Harry Lime. The Baron's bedroom is on the first floor, and from it opens a balcony. From the garden, there is a lattice screen that leads to the balcony.
Yes,
a child could climb.
Well, that may be, honey. What I'm trying to tell you is that I'm not a professional thief. Even if I get into the room, what do I do then? I imagine the necklace will be under lock and key, won't it?
You'll, of course, use this key.
Oh, how did you get hold of that?
Well, I thought perhaps it may be of service some day. So one evening when I was dining with the Baron, he drank a little too much champagne, and when he was not looking, I took an impression of the key and went.
Suzie is what you call a maker of opportunity.
Obviously. Well, I'd certainly like to oblige, but...
But what, my friend?
Forgive such a sordid detail, but... What's in it for Harry Lime?
Of course, we have not yet terms discussed.
No, we have not yet terms discussed.
How stupid of it. When the necklace is being sold, what say you to 1/5 of the proceeds? Yeah?
Well, I can answer that in one word, Herr Klause. No.
What would Herr Lime suggest?
A three-way split, 1/3 each,
You want a third? For me, it is agreed.
But Suzie...
Well, what point is there to quibble? Herr Lime is right. He is the one who takes the risk.
Thank you, Countess. Is that okay with you, Herr Klause?
If Suzie is saying it, I am in accord.
Then it is, how you say, a deal?
Yes, it's how I say a deal.
Good. Champagne, Carl.
Champagne.
Let us drink to our new partnership. And its success.
As we were all living in the one hotel, I saw quite a lot of Suzie and Carl in the next couple of days. We were already around to Christian name terms, but with Carl in tow, that was about as much solid progress as I could make. And it wasn't until Wednesday evening, the night before we planned to relieve the Baron of the necklace, that we managed to grab ourselves a few minutes alone. There was a beer garden next to the hotel with an orchestra that played nothing but waltzes.
Harry, I wish for a while to talk with you.
Well, here I am.
No, it is too crowded here. Too much noise. Where can we go?
What's beyond that gate over there?
Oh, some trees on the lawn.
No people?
No people.
I think we've been wasting our time here. Let's go, honey. As we went through the gate and left the dancers and the music behind, my heart skipped a jump or two, and I had a sort of crazy, excited feeling like a high school boy about to embark on his first love affair. Half of me was saying, go easy, Harry. Don't start something you can't finish. And the other half was longing to take Suzie in my arms.
You are seeming a little nervous, Harry. You are not worried about tomorrow night.
Oh, no, of course not. I'd be worried.
You are not forgetting you have joined with Carl and me?
No, I'm glad.
So am I. It is bringing to me much happiness to have met you. You are so different from every other man I have known. Harry, when this is over, when the necklace is sold and we have divided the money, what will you do?
Well, it mightn't be very healthy to stick around here. I guess I'll go back to Paris.
I shall miss you very much.
Well, why not come too?
If only I could.
What's to stop you?
Oh, Carl.
You mean you and he?
Huh? You have not guessed?
Well, I have wondered a few times.
Oh. Once for a little while we were being lovers. It is all over now since a long time, and we are just what you call associates of business. It is agreed what I do is my own affair, but he is by disposition very jealous, and I am always afraid.
Listen, leave Carl to me. I've handled tougher guys than him. Suzie, with the moonlight on your face and in your hair, lovelier than ever.
Am I?
Loveliest thing I've ever seen.
Please, Harry, you mustn't.
I'm crazy about you.
Harry.
You will come with me to Paris, won't you?
Oh, well, I'll try.
Good.
Oh, please let me go. Someone is coming.
Okay, we'll get back to this subject later, I don't know just how much Carl was responsible, but I didn't get a chance to see Suzie alone all next day, so the question of the future stayed up in the air. Now, of course, there was something even more important to think about, Operation Necklace. Around about 9 o'clock, Suzie went off to keep a dinner date with the Baron. An hour after that, Carl and I left the hotel separately and met again later, according to plan, in a dark laneway that ran beside the Baron's villa. I let myself quietly into the Baron's garden and hid behind a big shrub. Then Carl went openly to the front door and pulled the bell. There was a short pause. And then...
Good evening, Joachim.
Oh, it's you, Herr Klauser. I crossed the lawn, and in another second I was climbing up the lattice. It was even easier than I'd thought. The latch on the bedroom door was old and loose, and in half a minute was open, and I was inside. I switched on a small flashlight, located the safe, turned the key that Suzie had given me, and it opened as sweetly as a dream. There was a lot of other stuff in the safe, but it was the necklace I was after. I found it at last, in a plush-lined case. I took one quick glance. Looked all right to me. $100,000 was a bargain basement price for a set of rocks like that. I closed the safe, and then, as I was moving toward the balcony door, it happened. A small chair I failed to see and stumbled into. I paused for a moment, holding my breath. Then I heard feet pounding up the stairway and voices.
Where do you think it came from?
Out the master's bedroom. Quickly, Herr Klauser. This way. There wasn't any time to escape. I slipped behind a set of heavy curtains by the window, and as I did so, I wondered, was this just an accident? Or had Carl found out about Suzie and me? Was this a double cross?
In a moment, Orson Welles returns as Harry Lime, the third man.
Orson Welles, The Lives of Harry Lime, May 2nd, 1952 on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Hi, this is Kyle Horvath with the White Pine County Tourism and Recreation Board. If you want to get away from the big cities and get back to nature this summer, give us a call at 775-289-3720 or visit us online at elinevada.net. There's so much to do and see I can't mention it in 30 seconds, but check out our website and you'll see what Nevada is really all about. elinevada.net or follow us on Facebook or Instagram. Give us a call at 775-289-3720 or visit us online at elinevada.net.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. Medishare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
And now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, more of The Lives of Harry Lime, May 2nd, 1952.
And now Orson Welles as Harry Lime, the third man, continues today's story, Suzie's Cue.
In another second, Carl and the Baron's servant were in the room. My hand was on my gun, ready. If it was a double cross, Carl was going to be very sorry indeed. The light clicked on.
No one here, Joachim.
He may be hiding.
Nonsense. You must have imagined it.
Look, Herr Closer. That chair is fallen over. That is no imagination. And the balcony door is unlatched.
But you're sure you locked it?
Quite sure.
In that case, he's probably escaped into the garden. No? I see no one. Perhaps he's got clear by now.
Herr Klauser, will you stay here, please? While I'm going down and telephoning the police.
But is that necessary?
It's what the Herr Baron would do.
All right. Off with you.
Thank you, sir.
You can come out now.
Thanks.
You fool. You're nearly bungling the whole thing.
I warned you this was out of my line.
It's done now. You have the necklace.
Yes, I got the necklace.
You'd better go while there's time. Wait for me in your room.
Okay. See you later, sweetheart. 20 minutes later, I was back at the hotel. I waited in my room till after midnight, when I was just beginning to wonder whether something gone wrong. There was a cautious knock on the door, repeated 3 times. It was Carl's signal.
Is everything all right?
Sure, come in.
You have caused me much trouble, Harry. Much embarrassment.
Well, so what? No one can possibly suspect you. You're getting all steamed up about nothing, old man.
This is maybe. But it makes for all of us much difficulty. With luck, the Baron, his loss might not have discovered for many days, by which time we should all be out of Vienna and in the clear. Now the police are active and anything may happen. You have the necklace, Harry?
Yes, of course I do, old
Let
man.
me see.
There. Feast your eyes on that,
Ah, it is beautiful.
You said it.
I am seeing at midday tomorrow this man who wishes to buy. He will have the money in cash.
Well, before I hand over the necklace, don't you think we should let Suzie have a look at it, too? Huh?
Why?
Well, after all, she's in this as much as you and I. Isn't she entitled to some visual proof that I'm handing it over to you? Suppose tomorrow morning you deny that I have. Who's she to believe? You or me?
You are doubting my integrity?
Oh, no, not at all, man. No, not at all. I just like to be sure.
Herr Lime, I remind you I am a Klauser. That means I am a gentleman. A gentleman's word is his bond. So that is something perhaps you would not understand.
Now, take it easy, Carl.
Elsewhere and in other circumstances, you would be obliging me to seek satisfaction.
I bet you swung a nifty saber in the good old days at Heidelberg. No need to blow your top now, old
The
man.
necklace, please.
Times have changed. The necklace? I'm sure. Here you are. Take it. And, Carl.
Yes?
Maybe I did speak a little out of turn. If so, I'm sorry, old man.
Oh, that is all right. We are perhaps both being a little on edge this evening.
No hard feelings?
Of course not, Harry.
That's fine. And by the way, where is Suzie now? Have you seen her?
Only for a minute. She was already here at the hotel when I returned. I managed to speak a few words with her.
How did she get along with the Baron?
Oh, it seems that dinner was disturbed abruptly when word came to the Baron of the robbery. So he went off with the police, and she came back here. By now, I'm imagining she's asleep.
Well, that mightn't be a bad idea for all of us, one way and another. It's been quite an evening. Good night, Carl.
Good night.
I was disappointed. I sort of hoped Suzie would drop in before she called it a night. I waited up another hour on the off chance that she would, but had no sign of her. So I turned in. Next morning, she wasn't down for breakfast. At 11 o'clock, she still hadn't appeared. I went into the bar and bought myself a drink, and just as I was beginning to get really worried, there she was, looking fresher and lovelier than ever.
Good morning, Harry.
Oh, hello there. Now, where have you been? Why haven't I seen you?
I've had to, as you call it, lie low.
Lie low? Why?
The police.
You mean to say you're being tailed?
Yes.
But how come? How should they possibly suspect you?
I do not think they are suspecting me exactly.
Well?
But they are interested in me because I was last night with the Baron. And so, for the time being, I have to be careful. Harry, I have news for you. Important news.
What is it?
I am afraid that Carl, here's how you say, double-crossing us.
You must be wrong, Susie. I grant you he's a bit of a pain in the neck, but after all, he's an aristocrat and a gentleman.
Would you be interested to know that Carl's mother was a waitress in a beer garden?
What?
And that his father died in prison, where he was spending 20 years for robbery with violence.
You're kidding.
And that Carl was brought up in the slums and gutters of Vienna, and that before he was of age, he was 3 times in jail for picking pockets.
Oh, it can't be true, all that smooth politeness that...
It is true. I am knowing his background, you see. You have given him the necklace.
Oh, sure. Last night.
Then perhaps you will explain to me why he has booked a single seat, on the 1 o'clock plane for Zurich.
Is that a fact, Susie?
Yes, I have checked it for myself.
So that's his little game. Well, he needn't think he can get away with it, Susie. No.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to get that necklace, of course. In a long and disillusioned career, I've had to deal with many double-crossers, and experience has taught me there's only one way to do it. That's to get in first and never give the other guy a chance. So when I burst in on Carl in his room, my gun was already in my hand.
Hey! What is the meaning of this? I do not understand.
Ah, the confrontation. May 2nd, 1952, Orson Welles, The Lives of Harry Lime on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. By the way, Welles the only character given credit in any of these shows. The conclusion next.
Are you suffering with arthritis or osteoporosis? Do you have diabetes? Did you know that these are just 2 of the hundreds of diseases that have seen improvement with Dr. Wallach's incredible longevity products? You can't get them at a health food store. The only way to get them is to call us at 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Do you have heart disease, fibromyalgia, or high blood pressure? Do you have a terrible time losing weight? Dr. Wallach can help. He was a veterinarian and cured diseases in animals. He felt that he could do the same for humans, so he became a physician. Over 50 years of research and helping people like you goes into every bottle of Dr. Wallach's amazing discoveries. Do you want to feel better? Learn how to treat the cause of your problem rather than covering up the symptoms with drugs. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065.
Are you in bad pain? You know what I mean. Your knees hurt. Your shoulder hurts. Your elbow and back are constantly killing you. And I'm sure you've tried every pain pill or cream available at the drugstore. Am I right? Well, here's something you haven't tried. Pain Magic. Pain Magic is not available at any drugstore. The only place you can get it is by calling the special toll-free number I'm about to give you. And to make things even better, call right now and find out about our buy one, get one free offer. We're so confident it'll work for you that we offer a free bottle with your purchase. No prescription required. Call now to learn how you can get Pain Magic and get rid of your pain. Remember, your results may vary. 800-492-8164. 800-492-8164. 800-492-8164. That's 800-492-8164.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of The Lives of Harry Lime, starring Orson Welles, May 2nd, 1952, Susie's Cue.
You can save that no comprise stuff, old man.
I assure you...
Don't reach for your pocket either. If this happens to be loaded, it might just go off. The necklace, where is it?
Please, if you would only explain.
You heard me, the necklace. I'll give you 3 seconds. 1, 2...
It is in my hip pocket.
All right, turn around.
But I
do as you're
you...
told, no tricks.
Very well.
That's more like it, right. From now on, I'll take charge of this, old man.
Now, if you will please to tell me what this is all about.
Can't you guess, Carl?
I can only assume it is what you call The double cross.
Well, that comes very well from you, you two-timing crook.
The fishing collar.
Now listen to me, Herr Klauser. This is Harry Lime talking, so get it straight. But what I was going to say to Carl remained unsaid. For at that moment, the door was flung open, and in burst an inspector and the biggest, toughest cop I'd ever seen.
There is the man, Klauser. Arrest him.
Yes, Herr Inspector.
What is the meaning of this?
Hey, what goes on?
Come along, you. This is an outrage. I protest.
If Carl had had any sense, he'd have gone quietly, but he started to struggle, so the cop hung a smart one on his jaw, and the subsequent proceedings, as they say in all the best novels, interested Carl no more.
Permit me to offer my congratulations, Herr Lime.
Oh, sure. Yeah, quite all right.
You can put that gun away now. You have recovered the necklace?
The necklace? Oh, yes, it's right here in my pocket.
May I have it, please?
What? Certainly.
The Herr Baron will be most grateful, I am sure. You must have been thinking we would never arrive, but we came as soon as we were receiving the telephone call.
Telephone call? What telephone call?
From the Countess, the lady to whom you gave the message.
Oh. Oh, yes, of course.
May I ask, Herr Lime, how it was you first came to suspect Colonel Klauser?
Oh, just a hunch, I guess. Did you say Colonel Klauser?
Why, yes. Were you not knowing he was in the war a famous military officer?
Klauser?
In Bavaria, the Klausers for many generations are being much respected. The colonel is, how do you call it? The dark sheep of the family.
Yes, I see. You've had dealings with him before, hmm?
Yes, unfortunately.
Well, tell me just one thing, Inspector. From your knowledge of him, would you say he's the sort of man who'll double-cross an associate?
No, impossible. He has many faults, it is true, but always his integrity is impeccable. He is, if I may put it so, the soul of honor.
Oh, well. Duplicity, thy name is woman.
I knew most of the answers now, but there were still a few I had to learn. After the inspector had gone, I went looking for Suzie. I didn't have to search for long. She was still in the bar, and her greeting to me was as casual as if nothing had happened at all. She seemed more than willing to talk. Certainly, she admitted she'd lied to me about Carl planning a double-cross and about his background. Certainly, she'd phoned the police and given them a message purporting to come from me. The further we went, the more baffled I must have looked. For finally, she put a cool hand on mine and smiled at me and said,
Poor Harry. You find it all a little confusing, yes?
Well, maybe I'm not the subtle type, but wouldn't it have been a lot simpler just to denounce both Carl and myself and made a thorough job of it?
But I would never have dreamed to do that.
But why?
I had to get Carl out of the way, it's true. For a long time now he has been difficult, but with you it was different.
Well, how?
I have no cause to wish you ill, Harry. Besides, I like you. I like you very much. If anything were to happen to you...
I still don't get it, you know. If Carl didn't plan to double-cross us, he'd have sold the necklace, and then your share would have been $30,000, isn't that right?
Right.
But as it is, you get nothing.
Ah, but that is where you are wrong. I get the necklace. All of it. To myself.
How come?
It is very simple. You see, when I dined last night with the Baron, he did me the honor to ask me to be his wife.
Appearances, like women, are notoriously deceitful. Now take Suzie. That's right, you take her. I got enough trouble of my own. And then there's Carl. Just because Carl said he was an officer and a gentleman, and just because Carl looked like an officer and a gentleman, and even acted like one, I was sure he had to be a fake. Just goes to show you. Nowadays, you can't trust anybody. So long now.
May 2nd, 1952, The Lives of Harry Lime on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
It's a big, bold story set in the heartland of America, along the edge of Lonely Mountain. I am open for business. And so Big William Gorgon, played by handsome Michael James, fiercely set down his Midwest roots.
Oh, darling, we're going to sell bathrobes and raise chickens.
Set his adoring wife, Wilhelmina, portrayed by beautiful Glenda Olsen.
Oh, I love our store, Will.
But they hadn't counted on Big Ralph's bathrobes and cattle store coming to town.
Oh, Will, what will we do, Will?
Will had a plan, a way of facing off against tough Big Ralph. We're going to change the face of America. We're going to advertise.
For what?
With print, broadcasting, and bus benches, we're going to tell people who we are and where we are.
What's a bus?
And so the story of how one man brought advertising to the heartland.
Oh, will it work?
It will. Well, my name ain't Will, Wilhelmina. You got to advertise or we'll die. And so the greatest marketing story of all time is here. Advertise or die, dopey.
Put your message on this national advertising platform. Email classicradiotheater@gmail.com. classicradiotheater@gmail.com. Now on Classic Radio Theater, we have part 3 of the 5-part yours truly Johnny Dollar story, The Callicles Matter. This episode was originally broadcast May 2nd, 1956.
From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Johnny Dollar.
What are you doing lying around a hospital? This is Dave Blaine, Johnny.
Are you here in Los Angeles?
No, I'm in Boston still. What happened?
I was with Mrs. Parsons this afternoon, trying to find out what happened to her husband. She missed a turn in the road.
How is she? Is she all right?
She was killed, Dave.
Oh, good Lord. Johnny, what can I do to help?
Nothing, Dave. Nothing much to do now. Parsons is back, and, well, now he's back, I'll wrap it up.
Johnny, what is it, pal?
She was a pretty nice person, Dave. I saw her die.
Tonight, and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the Eastern Casualty and Trust Company, number 25 Yardley Boulevard, Boston, Massachusetts. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Callicles Matter. Item 3, 26 cents for a package of cigarettes, which the night nurse at St. John's Hospital bought for me. She also brought in a sedative. That was the last thing I remembered until about 5 o'clock in the morning. Look out! Look out! Look out!
Mr. Dollar.
Yeah. Hey.
Here. You got a bad dream.
Yeah, I guess.
You just lie down.
You
need some rest.
Yeah.
Can I get you anything, Mr. Dollar? Some water?
No, sister, no, thank you. What's your name?
I'm Sister Amadea.
You weren't here when they brought me in.
No. Now you just go back to sleep.
Sister, wait.
Yes?
I'd like to talk to you about it.
Of course. You mean the accident?
Yes, all of it. I'd feel better.
Well, we want you to do that. Certainly.
I came to Los Angeles for an insurance company back east.
Mm-hmm.
We had a report that a big executive in a stock firm out here was missing.
I see.
A man named David Parsons, junior partner with his father in the stock and bond business.
Oh, yes, I've heard of the Parsons family.
I talked to a man named Ecker, old Mr. Parsons' secretary.
Mm-hmm.
Ecker took me out to see the old man. He was pretty nasty. Wouldn't talk much about his son being gone for 10 days. Then I met David Parsons' wife. I told her I thought the matter should go to the police. She agreed with me. But later on this afternoon out by the ocean, she said she expected him to come back. She called the house and they said David Parsons had come back.
Oh.
It was a strange afternoon, sister. I mean, we sat in the sand and talked about these things. I could have fallen in love with her. Maybe I did. I'll never know. Sister Amadea.
Oh, Mr. Dollar, you're more shaken up than you think. Really, you
I'll never get used to things like this.
Shh. Now you just sleep, Mr. Dollar. Go on now, go to sleep. The world becomes very heavy sometimes. Now just go to sleep.
Item 4, $14.95, one night in the hospital. When I got back to the Beverly Hilton, I bought a copy of the morning paper, ordered some lunch, and sat down to read about my accident. An unidentified woman was killed. An unidentified man was slightly injured in a car crash on Sunset Boulevard the afternoon before. No names, no details, no nothing. Strange. But even stranger was the appearance of Robert Ecker, old man Parsons' secretary, at my door. Then I didn't know why his eyes were red-rimmed.
Hello, Dollar. How do you feel?
Oh, all right now, I guess. Come in.
This whole thing's pretty terrible, Dollar. I just stepped up to see how you feel. Is there anything I can do for you?
No, nothing, thanks.
Mr. Parsons wanted you to know that he's concerned for you.
Tell him I'm okay. How are things there?
Young Mr. Parsons is pretty broken up.
He's really back then?
Oh, yeah.
Well, then, I'm just about through out here. Could I see him?
Mr. Parsons thought you'd want to. Yes.
Expense account, item 8, $178, airplane ticket, back to Hartford. Item 9, $43, hotel and board for 2 days in Los Angeles. Item 10, $6 cab fare. My plane was scheduled to leave at 9 o'clock that night. I checked out about 4 in the afternoon and went directly to the home of David Sr. He looked a little ashen when I came in, but his temper hadn't improved much. He pointed a crooked finger at me.
I've got this to say to you right now, Dollar. If you hadn't insisted on talking to her, she'd be alive today. She wouldn't have been with you driving that car.
If she hadn't been forbidden by you to see me, we wouldn't have had to drive around in a car. You have a drink around here?
Right there.
I didn't come here to argue with you anymore. My job was to find your son. Evidently, he wasn't lost. Ecker told me I could meet him here about this time.
You're pretty free with my whiskey.
You can afford it. You want one?
Oh, I get a jigger before every meal, that's all.
Cheers. Well, am I early or what?
David will be here any time now.
Have any arrangements been made yet?
You'll have to ask Ecker about that. I don't know.
I'd like to send some flowers, something.
That's always the logical gesture. This is Mr. Dollar, David. Come in. It's my son, David.
The man in the black suit wasn't what I expected in the way of David Parsons, Jr., somehow. He was tall and rangy, almost athletic. He had a good sunburn and a pair of square shoulders. I would have read him for an advertising man or a pro ball player. Certainly not for the investment brokerage business. We shook hands. He smiled wanly and lit up a cigarette.
Dad tells me you've been looking for me.
That's right, Mr. Parsons. Where have you been all this time?
Well, I took a freighter out of Los Angeles and rode it up to Oregon. Just a whim. Wanted to be alone and do some thinking.
How come no word?
Oh, that's a whim, too. Are you trying to get into my personal life?
No. Just curious again. Well, here's some reports I have to make out. If you'd sign them, I'd appreciate it.
Go ahead, sign them. Let them go.
Sure. I have a pen. Okay?
Fine, thank you.
Satisfied, Dollar?
Completely. What ship did you take up there?
Ship?
The boat to Oregon.
Oh, the Laureen B. Wintermaker Timber Company ship.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm glad you're okay. Thank you for your cooperation. I went back to my hotel, checked in once more, canceled my airline reservations, and put in a call to Robert Ecker. He wasn't in his office. A little arguing got me his home number. No one answered. I went out and spent $25, item 8, to rent a car. I drove it over to Ecker's apartment address. He wasn't in, so I waited. A half an hour later, he drove up, ran into his apartment for about a minute and a half, came back out and got into his car. When he pulled into traffic on Wilshire, I was one Buick behind him. He finally stopped at a place on Olympic Boulevard, the Parkway Funeral Home. I waited 5 minutes and then walked in. Robert Ecker stood in a semi-dark room, hands folded before him as if in prayer. He was looking down at the body of David Parsons' wife. Hello, Ecker.
Hello.
Came by to pay my respects.
Sure.
Who is she, Ecker?
What was that?
Who's this girl? She isn't Dorothy Parsons, I know that much. Who is she? We better talk about this.
Yeah, we better talk. Her name's Ellen. Her name was Ellen Myers. We're going to be married.
I'm sorry.
She was one of those lonely people that you find in this town. I mean, she worked a bit in pictures and drew and painted a little bit. I don't know how I met her. I just know that she was fresh and lovely, and she'd do anything for me.
Or for old man Parsons.
For me. She was mine. Everything else is his. She was mine. He blew up the other morning when I called up and said you were in town looking for David Jr. He said we had to steer you out. He didn't want you talking to anybody.
So he arranged that she'd be there posing as Mrs. Parsons.
He asked me to get someone. She was delighted with the idea. It was kind of a little game for her.
Where's the real Mrs. Parsons?
Home, I guess. I don't know.
I'll find that out. Now, tell me who's the guy I shook hands with this afternoon who said he was David Parsons, Jr.
I don't know his name. Someone the old man hired to play the part for him.
Then David Parsons is still missing.
Yeah.
Why all the cover-up? Why doesn't the old man want him found?
He does want him found. He wants him found in the worst way. He's been turning the country upside down looking for him for a week now. There's something like 23 operatives from a private detective firm looking for him, but he doesn't want it to go to the police. He wants it out of the papers at all costs.
Why?
Parsons is going to merge with Little and Tennyson. You've heard of them?
Yeah.
The old man's got to take it easy. Heart attack. Parsons Jr. will get into the saddle when the merger happens. He'll take over the whole play. That is, of course, with the old man sitting down in Palm Springs dictating orders to him.
In other words, old man Parsons wants his figurehead to be on deck, clean and unsullied for the merger.
That's it.
What do you think happened to Junior?
I don't have any idea. What happens to any of us who work for Parsons? We give him lip at first, we get mad at him. In the end, he shakes out all the dignity and honesty you might ever have, and he makes you his own personal robot. Look at me, Dollar. He got me to make my girl play all that out in front of you. Now she's dead, and I'm still a robot for him.
Take it easy.
Sure. How did you get on to Junior?
Oh, he didn't look broken up. He was a pretty bad actor. He also gave some wrong answers about being off on a ship and so on. Hey, look, you don't have to say anything about talking to me.
Oh, but I will. I'll tell Parsons you pumped it all out of me. Won't worry him a bit. He'll figure out some other way to stop you. I told you once before, Dollar. He'll break your heart.
Now, here's our star to tell you about tomorrow's intriguing episode of the Callicles Matter.
Tomorrow, we find out that Callicles was a Greek. Maybe the greatest one of them all. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. Written by John Dawson, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Be sure to join us tomorrow night, same time and station, for the next exciting episode of Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.
May 2nd, 1956, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Of course, you can get all the yours truly, Johnny Dollar shows going from the 50s all the way to 1962 by contacting Ted, RadioMemories.com. He supplies shows on cassette, CD, or flash drive, RadioMemories.com. Please thank this radio station and support their advertisers. It is their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time we're here on your favorite radio station. And don't forget that if you miss a day, you don't have to miss a single show. Our shows are available through iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, TuneIn, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon, or Facebook. Free. Just search for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. And you can also find our shows on my webpage, classicradio.stream. There you can stream our shows on demand, learn more about classic radio collecting, contact me there, find all our social media links, classicradio.stream. Thanks for tuning in. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.